Hi, I'm here to bring you my review for the AG Book Club May selection. And this month, obviously, we have been reading a collection of articles. And so I thought instead of telling you what I liked about each article, I think we should each just pick our two favorites and explain why we thought they were interesting or why we liked them or found them thought provoking. My two favorite articles were the one called Mixed Signals, which was about how we misunderstand each other, and the second was the articles from the Washington Post about the NSA data gathering. And the reason why I liked the Mixed Signals article was because it kind of explained an experience that I have quite often with people, and most often in my marriage. It seems like there's so many times at home when Logan and I misunderstand each other. And this article just explained to a T what happens where I assume that he knows what I'm thinking, and he assumes that I know what he's thinking, and in fact, we are not communicating clearly our thoughts, and we're misunderstood by each other. And the thing that I also found interesting was the conclusion, which just said we need to be more clear about stating what we're thinking or what we want. A lot of times, our response to being misunderstood is to put the responsibility on the other person, that they should try harder to understand what I'm thinking. But actually, we need to try harder to clearly explain and define what we want and what we're thinking and feeling. So it's pretty simple, and it kind of feels like it should be obvious, but it's not. You know, we all kind of act in this way that, like, we're just assuming that everybody knows what we're thinking or what we're feeling and that we're communicating really clearly, when in fact we're not. So I found it really fascinating. I've been thinking about it a lot, and trying to kind of figure out ways to be more clear about my expectations or my desires and things like that. And I also really liked the NSA articles. I guess I wouldn't say that I liked them. I just think they're really important. So basically, 2 years ago, the Washington Post and the Guardian published articles stating that the NSA, the U.S. government's national security agency, had been collecting data from phone companies from basically every single U.S. citizen, and it's come out that that information is a lot broader even than we know of, and they're doing this in order to protect our country from terrorism attacks. But actually, just recently, the U.S. Court of Appeals decided that that's unconstitutional, that the NSA is not actually allowed to do that. And this is the part that I find particularly troublesome, is that when they were doing it, it was actually legal, but that's because they'd created a secret court to rule on these new laws. So the NSA was creating laws, and then they formed a secret court in order to pass those laws, and nobody knew that it was happening. And this seems not democratic. It doesn't seem even like American. It doesn't seem like our country. It seems like really bad use of authority, even if their intentions were good. And so I'm really glad that it came to light, and I'm glad that the public knows about it, and the U.S. government is trying to do things to change that. In fact, actually today, I think the House is ruling whether or not to extend those laws that give the NSA power to do that. So they're still working on figuring out something good where we can still be effective at stopping terrorism, but not rob the American citizens of their privacy and rights in that respect. But this also kind of brought up another issue, because the only reason we know about the secret courts is because one man named Edward Snowden who was involved in this process with the U.S. government. He was a private contractor. He thought that it was wrong, and so he stole that information from the U.S. government and gave it to the Washington Post and the Guardian. So we got that information, but of course he committed treason because he wasn't supposed to do that. And I think this also brings about a really interesting subject and sort of terrifying, because he could now be tried by the government, except for he's found asylum in a different country. And he, according to our laws, be prosecuted. But it makes you wonder, because it seems like what he did was right. You know, if you find out that the government's doing something unlawful, but in order to tell people about that, you break the law, what should you do? And is there a difference between what is lawful in the United States and what is actually right? And a lot of the times we don't have to worry about that. Some citizens of other countries do, but perhaps that is a question that we have to ask ourselves now. So anyways, that the issue is so much bigger than that, and I'm not as informed on it as I would like to be, but I thought that was really crazy, and I want to learn more, and I feel really proud of the Washington Post for publicizing something that was actually really dangerous and scary, and there were reporters who went to prison, but they won a Nobel Prize for doing it because it's really good reporting. So I loved reading these really great articles, and I'm excited to hear what you thought was interesting, which articles you liked, and if you like the process of reading from newspapers. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts.